Somewhere around the beginning of the new millennium, a certain website emerged, advertised as Sailor Moon for Adults, a parody magical girl anime with a body twist. The project was based on a manga penned by Swedish-born mangaka Hanazo no Ai, the release in magazine Otome. The website featured sound clips, music, and artistic promo materials for the anime, all leading up to a release in February of 2001. Interestingly, the release was advertised as an ONA, meaning Original Net Animation, a play on OVA. Protagonist Tsubomi works at a lingerie club and spends her time crushing on a host. However, beneath the surface, a darkness is brewing in the neighborhood. When Tsubomi is approached by a mysterious talking cat by the name of Rama, she receives orders that she must assume the identity of Papillon Rose and fight back against the dynasty. There's just one problem though, for in reality there was no anime, no mangaka named Hanazo no Ai. Most of the screenshots on the website are traced from popular anime including Sailor Moon, Evangelion, and Utena. The production staff listed weren't real, and the network on which it would supposedly air was called... And, well, if you do your Japanese reps, you probably know what that means. Papillon Rose was a hoax, a fake anime, a fun project put together by two guys doing a little trolling online. However, despite all that, the website itself proved to be exceptionally popular. Auditions were held for amateur voice actors and singers to take part in the project. Users of Japanese image board 2chan loved it, and it gained enough popularity to spread overseas as well, with a quote-unquote English dub, now considered lost media, being created. In response, the original creators, while obviously initially acting in jest, responded to demand by releasing a fanbook called Papillon Rose Archive at Summer Comiket in 2001. You probably already know, but if by chance you don't, Comiket is a huge event that happens twice a year, focusing on the sale of independent fanworks, mostly comics and art books, known as doujinshi. The first fanbook was so popular that the pair returned a second year, selling another at the following year's Winter Comiket. While the first fanbook focused on the original anime depicted on the website, the second focused on Papillon Rose R, a fictional second season. In 2004, the website would once again be updated, this time advertising a fictional movie, Papillon Rose G. A final soundtrack was subsequently released at Comiket, and the following year, in 2005, the website went blank. Then, in 2003, Papillon Rose became real. In celebration of the website receiving 100,000 visits, a real-life 6-episode OVA was slated for release, produced with the help of labels Milky, Genion, and Echigoya. However, when the release date came, only one episode ever saw the light of day. Reasons stated included poor reception, time constraints, and monetary issues. But it wasn't over yet. 3 years later, Papillon Rose would revive, when a 13-episode new season was announced by studio Kelmatic. Yeah, that's what they're called. This time, the girls cleaned up their act and went all in on pandering towards the otaku crowd, rebranding as Akihabara cosplay maids. Once again, tragedy struck, and only 6 episodes were ever released. So, are these anime any good? Well, the general consensus is they're both turn your brain off or come in with low expectations type things, although the original concept has its fans. That was all we heard from Papillon Rose, until one day in 2014, a new website emerged advertising a trilogy of movies called the Rebuild Trilogy. As you can imagine, this was an Ava reference, and eventually the website expired with no movies to ever come. Although the creator would once again have a booth at Comiket, selling merch in the form of pencil boards alongside a new doujinshi, presumably for old time's sake. So you may be asking yourself, who created Papillon Rose in the first place? Papillon Rose was actually the work of 2 men. The first initially went by the name Shinji Tobita, which is a bit of a cheeky reference. Years later, Taro Moroboshi, character designer for works including Love Plus and Tokimeki Memorial Online, came out in his New Type magazine column, revealing his dark past of being involved with the project as the character designer. Mino column number 5. My doujinshi got made into an anime, lol. Do you all have 1 or 2 dark events in your life that you could call your dark history? Even I have a dark past that is too numerous to count. On my official profile, my debut as a character designer was for Tokimeki Memorial Online. But in fact, I was in charge of character designs for other titles prior to that. To put it simply, I have done some doujin work. That work is a rare piece known only to those in the know, lingerie warrior Papillon Rose. What is that? For those who are wondering, it is a local squadron that protects the red light district of Kabukicho in Shinjuku. I wanted to do character-related work, but the reality is, I was just a guy from Naniwa who had never drawn anything properly and had no track record. I thought I would create something to practice drawing characters properly, and that's when I came up with Papillon Rose. What is it? It is the official website of a fictional anime program. It is a parody of American movies, but with a Japanese anime theme. The content has expanded to include promotional animation, voice samples, theme songs, and soundtracks. Advertisements for the original comics and the magazine Otome, in which the series is serialized, and more. Before long, I was receiving many emails asking, I can't find the comics or monthly Otome anywhere, and I even received some unexpected offers from overseas, such as requests to broadcast it on their station. In the midst of all this, I received an offer. We'd like to turn it into an anime. Are you interested? As I was talking, it seemed like it was a genuine offer, so I decided to leave it to them, with a feeling that it would be the last super story for Papillon Rose. At the time, I was a big fan of Sakura Wars, so I tried to copy Fujishima's style when drawing. But the anime was also made by the staff of Sakura Wars, a dark past for the animators. Looking back, it's pretty cool the doujinshi were pioneers that made it into anime. For some reason, an unusual situation occurred, in which the doujin work made by an amateur was made by a professional. But due to time constraints and various other issues, the animation did not fit into the transformation bank, and the result was disappointing. Well, considering the original, it never had the potential to become a masterpiece from the start. It seemed that the producer wasn't satisfied either, and wanted revenge. That's what he said. Well, I thought it was just a one-off conversation, but it seemed that the conversation was still alive, and he contacted me saying, "We're making a production announcement tomorrow," and I was shocked to see the reborn Papillon Rose. For some reason, the Papillon warriors who protected the red light district had become a maid cafe staff in Akihabara, and the illustrations had changed from a sexy style to a cute one. I still have fond memories of being shocked and saying, "This isn't my Papillon Rose." Looking back at the fact that Papillon Rose was broadcast on terrestrial TV, I think I was really lucky. But I don't think I wanted to use my luck here. Some people may see Papillon Rose as a dark past, but it is the title that got me started on making things, and I made Papillon Rose new movie, Ciao, as a joke, to look back on my origins. The domain contract for this official website will expire soon, so please take a look now. Also, the Papillon Rose online shopping site is still open, so if you haven't purchased it yet, please give it a go. By the way, it seems that many people are mistaken, but Papillon Rose is actually rated 30+, not 18+, lol. Well, that's that. The blog post lends us some background knowledge that explains the pandering feeling of the new season. It also reinforces that the rebuild trilogy was never really gonna happen. But what about the second man? The second man was Yu Ugata. By his own words, Ugata first became involved with the internet in 1995. After having made his mark on the culture with Papillon Rose, Ugata wasn't about to stop his journey there. Let's jump back to 2003. Papillon Rose would receive its very first OVA anime adaptation. Around this time, there's a new emerging culture gaining a lot of traction on Japanese image boards, ASCII art. Well, actually, it's referred to as ASCII art, or AA for short, but technically it's actually Shift JIS art. ASCII stands for American Code for Information Exchange, and is the character encoding system for text used by, well, Americans. On the other hand, Shift JIS is the character encoding system used by the Japanese. However, it seems that ASCII is used as a technically incorrect catch-all term to the point where even the Japanese often refer to their own text art as AA or ASCII art. Okay, all technicalities aside, this stuff was getting really popular on image boards back in the early to mid-2000s. This particular culture revolved around the formation of certain characters, mostly cats, creating distinct personalities for each. The very first example of one of these characters is Giko Neko, based on a slang term / in-joke from the website ASCII World in 1998. Giko Neko would expand in popularity far past the scope of the original website, beginning the ASCII art boom and forming the beginning of what were referred to as the Big Four, alongside Mona, Moraler, and Shi. It is here that Ugata would begin his foray into the world of making physical merch. It all began with a plush of Giko Neko, shown here. In following years, he would make Shi and Mona as well. If we zoom in here, in hands, we see that the tag reads Pink Company. The name Pink Company is a combination of two references. One, Red Company, the Japanese developer and distributor of video games. Two, the Pink Films movement, which encompassed live-action movies with adult elements. It was under this particular moniker that Ugata would proceed to create a market all his own, merchandise for niche internet in-jokes. Likewise, not intent on stopping there, Ugata set his eyes on the next online trend. You may be familiar with a little video known as Troubled Windows. It's a cute little video comprised of the iconic song Sakuranbo Kiss by Kotoko, the opening to the eroge Colorful Kiss, featuring gijinkas of various personified operating systems known as OS tons. These characters were created on the Japanese image board Futaba channel, an offshoot of Chuchan originally created as a refuge when the site was in danger of closing down. Similarly to the ASCII art, these characters each had their own likeness and personality, based on their corresponding operating systems. So in 2004, for his next project, Ugata would depict 4 of these characters, ME-tan, XP-tan, 95-tan, and 2K-tan, in minifigure form. The first 3 being bundled with the titular fan book released by Ozora. Although she was designed to go with the set, 2K-tan was released separately. The series would continue to expand to a total of 7 minifigures, comprising 1 more of each for ME-tan and 2K-tan, as well as the introduction of Inu-T-tan. There was something else going on the internet in 2004, something far more unhinged. Jisosaki originated as fan art for the character Suisei Seki from Rose and Maiden. The manga series released by Peach Pit was adapted into an anime in 2004, gaining significant popularity on image boards like Futaba channel. It was there that the fan art was posted, lauded for its clear display of skill, precision, and depth. Just kidding, it looked ridiculous, so everyone was memeing on it. She was originally given the name Uro Oboe Suisei Seki, meaning half-remembered Suisei Seki, until she really blew up in popularity after being used in one of these oh-so-classic 2000s meme templates. To all my programmers in the audience, is this oh-so relatable? It was from here that she would receive the name Jisoseki, a combination of the Japanese word jiso, meaning install, and her name, obviously. Alongside her new name, Jisoseki would live life as a cute little mascot for the anime. That is, until a couple of unsavory users got their hands on her, and her existence online became a rather sordid one. Jisoseki bros, it's not looking good. In any case, Jisoseki debuted as Ugata's next project, appearing in figure form in December of 2005, roughly a year after she was given her name and popularity from the programming meme. In 2007, Pink Company would release 2 more figures of image board meme characters relating to Rose and Maiden, those being Akachochin and Daijinko. Now, for a quick history lesson. In the 90s, otaku culture was stigmatized, in large part due to news coverage of Tsutomu Miyazaki, the quote-unquote otaku murderer. However, Densha Otoko, a perhaps real, perhaps fake, romance story between a nerdy channer and the woman he defended on a train, recanted via Chuchan, marked a turning point, as it would receive a variety of mainstream media adaptations and thus gain popularity amongst the masses. Public perception of otaku culture began to shift in a more positive direction, making strides in popularity. However, I would be remiss to say that this was purely a positive change. Opportunistic comedians and TV personalities saw dollar signs in this emerging interest, and came to Akiba on the weekends hunting for fame. Otaku and their culture found their designated place as the butt of the joke, rather than being treated with mutual respect. Furthermore, Densha Otoko, as well as its popularity, have received a wealth of pushback from otaku, including cultural critic Toru Honda. But that's a topic far too complex for this little aside. All that to say, during this time, the word moe reached the mainstream, adding fuel to the fire of the moe personification boom, where everything and anything was being given the form of a cute anime girl. Yu Ugata heavily utilized the moe personification boom with his company's products, the likes of which you will see as his work continues. A translation of text on their website regarding their business activities reads as follows. The internet is overflowing with original and derivative characters, published by many individuals and hobbyists. There are many works that rival those of professionals, which traditional large companies could not develop, and many works that could be a stepping stone to becoming a professional. Pink Company has its sights set on this niche market, unearthing works and artists that have a great personality and are popular with internet users, even though large companies would not take them seriously. By actually commercializing, making the materialization of the joke, these works that many people would laugh off as just a joke, the Pink Company has discovered a sense of fun and business profitability. Pink Company operated as an OEM, meaning that they did contract work defined by each individual project that they took on, rather than being directly affiliated with a specific IP. In 2006, Ugata increased the scale of his next project, from minifigures to something a bit larger. The Fastech 360 were a pair of experimental high-speed trains, developed by J.R. East in the mid-2000s. These trains were developed with the goal of collecting speed data. Wanting to drive interest, J.R. East partnered with Pink Company to create a pre-painted figure of Fastech-chan, a moe personification of the trains. Like I said, the project conveys a larger sense of ambition compared to previous works. Not only is Fastech-chan larger, she also comes with a variety of interchangeable parts, so you can pose her to your heart's content. While the whole turn it into an anime girl stuff can be a bit tired nowadays, Fastech-chan's design is actually quite clever. The white stockings and arm covers convey the look of the multiple cars that make up a train, and the yellow ears on her head are modeled after the aerodynamic brakes, the shape of which heavily resemble cat ears, to the point of occasionally being referred to them, even in practice. Ugata's work in the genre of moe personification continued as Pink Company released 4 minifigures featuring the cast of Magical Marine Pixel Maritan, a manga in which moe girls with names like Maritan, Navy-san, and Army-san teach readers vulgar English phrases and military knowledge. Look, now we can't say that it doesn't go both ways. In 2007, Pink Company would jump aboard the Touhou train, as the 10th game, Mountain of Faith, released. Considering you're here, I feel like I shouldn't even have to explain the effect Touhou Mania had on the web, and naturally, Pink Company took full advantage of their target audience by providing a plethora of merchandise, including deformed-style figures, keychains, and mousepads. Touhou would remain a significant source of income for the company for years to come. Once again, you see the internet influence still going strong here, with the Gate Gate keychains and collectible different colored variants of Cyrano figures. Also in 2007, the company would also release perhaps one of their most innovative products, a figure of Kokonoe Rin from Kodomo no Jikan enclosed in a snow globe. At the end of 2007 and the beginning of 2008, respectively, Pink Company would release 2 figures of Byakko, one small and one large. Gegege no Kitaro is a well-known manga series from the 60s, focusing on a young boy and his strange encounters with yokai, creatures of Japanese folklore. Byakko is a Gijinka of Blackbeard, a yokai featured in the manga. After an image of Blackbeard with edited dialogue gained traction on 2chan, Byakko was born in response. Kudos to illustrator Torote. Armed with everything needed to ensure popularity online, Byakko's influence would expand, with Torote adapting her to a parody comic, Blackbeard-sama ga Miteru, a reference to Mario-sama ga Miteru or Marimite, a Yuri light novel, manga, and anime series. This further expanded Byakko's popularity, which got to the point where even official staff paid homage to the meme. While the small Byakko is very much in line with what Pink Company had been making, the large figure was certainly the biggest that they had ever created. In 2008, Pink Company partnered with popular figure website AmiAmi in creating the Bottled Amiko, a bottle containing multiple copies of a trading figure of the website's mascot Amiko, alongside a keychain. Although Touhou would become a primary focus for the company after the turn of the decade, Ugata would take part in 2 more creative figure endeavors. In 2010, he would collaborate with Japanese model manufacturer Aoshima Bunka Kyozai to create Hayabusa-tan. Hayabusa, meaning peregrine falcon, was a spacecraft developed by Japan's Aerospace Exploration Agency and set on a journey to collect a sample from a near-Earth asteroid by the name of Itokawa. The spacecraft launched in 2003 and made contact with the asteroid in 2005, but did not return until 2010. The collaboration would yield 2 Gijinka figures personifying the unmanned spacecraft with 2 variants, an Itokawa-based variant and a Welcome Home-based variant. General excitement around Hayabusa led to this figure being featured in a variety of news outlets at the time. He would also release a Nagi Kanpachi figure, depicting Nagi from Kanagi as well Kanpachi, a popular fish used for sashimi. See for yourself. Throughout the 2010s, Pink Company would shift focus more onto character goods. While they suspended activities for a time following the 2011 Tohoku earthquake, they later continued releasing Touhou products, and would later collaborate with GGGG Fairies. In 2012, they released the iCat series of headphone jacks featuring various cat figures. These figures would garner significant popularity, and as such, further cat-related phone accessories would commence. With this, Pink Company truly would come full circle, from Chuton cat plushies all the way back to cat merch, albeit in a more normie-friendly form. If you look at their website, you can see that it's heavily cat-themed as well. As of today, it seems that their website has not been updated for over a decade. Pink Company is most likely either no longer in business or has transitioned more into behind-the-scenes development work. Although the moe and moe personification has fallen out of style throughout the years, like I mentioned before, the concept of making things into anime girls is very much still a thing, to the point of falling into cliché. Even more common is capitalizing off internet memes. Far from being a novelty, it's extremely common for companies to start pumping out merch the instant something takes off, and naturally continue to do so long after the jokes stop being funny. But in a post-Pink Company world, I find Pink Company merchandise more lovable than ever. It may just be the 2000s nostalgia talking, but objectively, I feel like everything they made makes for such a time capsule of old internet culture in the best way possible. I can't help but see the love in these products. While capitalizing off anything always runs the risk of desecrating it, Pink Company figures show such a level of detail and reverence for whatever they're depicting that they never came across as try-hard to me at least. You may not know this, and so it'll most likely be discussed in future videos, but I do a lot of research into old 2000s Japanese image board culture and merch. And most other examples of companies attempting to profit off this stuff turns into disaster. In one case, there was actually a huge scandal and an arrest made after a major entertainment company tried to profit off the likeness of one of the ASCII cats. As far as I know, Pink Company hasn't been involved in any such scandals, which I think speaks to the level of passion and respect in these projects. I think the fact that Ugata himself was involved in these spaces from the beginning contributes to that authenticity. He's not just some random money-hungry CEO, he knows the culture and has lived it himself. As for today, I was able to find this image on Twitter of a user posting a photo of a lecture they were attending in 2016, naming the lecture as Yu Ugata. The topic of the lecture itself being the monetization of intellectual property. Needless to say, I think we found our guy. I also found this post on Twitter from someone who accidentally got an email to Yu Ugata about Comiket preparations. I hope that situation got resolved. As for Papillon Rose, although it remains a niche to this day, it's pretty safe to say that it's made its mark on history regardless, with the term ONA having solidified itself in anime fan lexicon overseas. Furthermore, it retains a small yet dedicated fanbase, even on the English-speaking side of the web. Something that's abundantly clear if you browse through the wiki, YouTube channels, and Tumblr blogs dedicated to its archival. Shout out to the Papillon Rose Wikia. Well, that's all for this week. Remember to go out there and achieve your dreams, regardless of what they may be.
いやよ、あんな無茶苦茶な連中とは関わりたくないわ。